Hey, you asked for videos, but to be truthful, that made me really uncomfortable. I'm not typically someone that takes videos unless it's like my pets. Um, so it created a lot of discomfort in me personally to respond. Um, but I also heard the, the ask, and I don't know what you experience. I can tell you that I had the most surreal time. I think it was back in like November, where all of the sudden, without any stimulus, if I took a shower during a day, it was a triumph. Um, and for some weird reason, it would take me literally an hour to complete a shower without shaving or any sort of like beautification, just a regular shower. I would get physically weak and exhausted and just rest my head on the tile for, I suppose, many minutes, and I didn't understand. I reached out to an old friend uh, to ask them for the first time in, gosh, like 20 years, to ask a friend to to check in with me every day, to just send me a text. Could be for anything. It didn't have to be serious. But I wanted something in my life that I had to respond to, that I had asked for, and I had to respond to. And that lasted a week before I felt confident that I didn't need something external to respond to for a living. And I wasn't over the top suicidal. I couldn't function. I couldn't find any reason in the world to function. And nothing had happened in my life that would cause that. So I think that depression is just the most complex word and the most complex reality for folks to experience. Um, and I think it's compounded for folks that work from home. I've spent a year in my home, not going out to work, not clocking a 9 to 5, and I know that you work from home, and there's just this vast quietness that's only filled just a short amount of time by other humans and by stimulus. But there's an echo that seems to always be there. And the echo is kind of like a question, like questioning um, purpose and direction. And then that lack of energy, like you're asking yourself for direction, but your body is not providing the energy to take the answer and run with it. Um, I can't give you a video because I don't know what that would look like. Um, I spend most of my time being in some level of contemplation. I spend most of my time by myself. And unfortunately, for the past year, I've spent most of my time disconnected from others. Um, Part of that is being in a very large city and trying to break into a community is kind of like going back to high school and trying to fit in, right? Like you can't be the newcomer. It doesn't work. Um, and so I retreated. I spent most of my time with myself. I immersed myself in my partnership and with my pets. And that leaves very little space when you need more, and it's just not there. Days where there's sunshine in Chicago, there's not many days like that in the winter, but the sunshine days blinded me, and I felt like I was walking naked through the neighborhood when I was walking my dog 4 or 5 times a day. I felt so disembodied, so exposed. And I think for me, the answer for myself is to be in an environment, and Chicago is not the environment, it's the wrong choice, but to be in an environment that, at my worst, the physical environment that surrounds me supports me. The reason why I've encouraged my spouse to move to the Southwest is, when you're standing in the middle of the desert and you're by yourself, you look all around you and you look up into the sky, and being alone is the only thing that makes sense. And it's beautiful because you're so small, but you're in a beautiful space and you're just part of it. You're just a small part of it. And there's nothing more that's asked of you. And the cool thing about that is you fit perfectly in the environment. But at any moment, you can push yourself to be more. And you can keep pushing to be more. But if you get to a point where you can't be, it's okay. Because the environment says it's okay. The environment says it's bigger, right? Is bigger. You can be who you are. We're going to keep being here and keep sustaining this space. I think that you're probably, maybe, I'm projecting, maybe expecting humor or accolades. I think sometimes the worst thing to get from another person is to get a depressed person that's speaking to a depressed person, because there's too much realness. It's hard to give that superficial encouragement because the reality is too strong. I just think for me, for myself, it's become less about the path of, you can't say recovery, but the path of balance, and more about like the reality, right? Like, I'm a depressed person. This is going to come in waves. It's going to come in cycles. I'm going to take medication. It's going to become, it's always ongoing. And so I think that my journey has really led me to just to create spaces where at my worst, I fit into that space 100%. And that space can expand to fit anything that I want to pursue during the time that I have energy. I don't know what that means for you. You have an art form that you pursue. It's gorgeous. It's powerful. But I think that perhaps, maybe, there are times when you look at your art form and say, if only I can create that beauty within myself, I'll be okay. Why can I create it in these settings with these people or these environments, but not within myself? And I don't have an answer for that. But we leave legacies and footprints. And I don't know why some of us spend our lives struggling to simply be the way that we perceive everyone else to be. I do know that we have such profound thoughts and feelings, much richer than happy people. That doesn't make it fun. It doesn't make it worth it. But we're experiencing a part of life, and we're tapping into a part of life that very few people even know how to access. But for us, it's this constant norm. And I don't know if there's a way through counseling or psychiatrists or medication to create like a positive space. I think it's more for me about, this is my norm. I'll take my medication, I'll go to my psychiatrist, I'll observe and be careful about my life and my function, but I'm just not going to have the same experience in life that other people have, that I perceive they have. But God, I think things and I feel things, and sometimes I look at others and I just stereotype. I think like, oh, you couldn't have thought the things I've thought. So there's a uniqueness and there's a depth. And I don't know necessarily that we can harness it, because I think that depression undulates up and down. So to harness something, you need consistency to grab hold. And I don't think that we can do that, but we have moments of deep clarity. And that's living in a very authentic and deep way. And it doesn't feel good to us because it's not emulated in society. And it's not sustainable. What I can say is I know it to be very painful, but also very, very beautiful and unique. Therefore, your ask regarding your depression has answered any question about you. You are very beautiful and very unique. There are not many people who can feel what you feel, think what you think, and engage in actions that you do that are so intentional, and create the art that you give to the world that is beautiful despite your pain. These words can't sustain you. They can't be the words that you turn to in your darkest moment and say, you know what, that's enough. Because they're not enough. They're still truth. And sometimes truth speaks to power, and sometimes truth asks for power. And the only thing I can give you, I'm not in a creative space, I'm not in a lighthearted space, I'm probably not giving you anything that you requested. The only thing that I can give to you is that sometimes truth inspires power, and it leaves a legacy. So my words cannot change anything. It can't choose your destiny. It can't change any decisions that you make that could be harmful. But at least I hope that they cause you to pause and acknowledge that your art has created a legacy. Your feelings are a legacy. They can't be documented, but I can tell you that they're very unique and very powerful. And they are an extreme way of living this life. You know, I can't imagine how empty being happy all the time would be. Being carefree all the time would be. There's so much knowledge that's lost in that. But there's so much pain in folks that have knowledge. But pain is art, and art is legacy. And in your life, you've managed to encompass and succeed in both. And I wish you the very best.